Bleach episode 21 adapts a considerable amount of manga material, with several cutscenes, some manga moments that have been reworked and improved upon, and lastly a few anime-only scenes that build upon the source material. Now before the intro, we get material previously not adapted from chapter 565, where we see Yhwach waking up from his sleep. Then after the intro, we pick up from where we had left off from the post-credit scene of last week's episode, following the defeat of Gremmy, as material from the second half of chapter 579 is adapted all the way up until the beginning of chapter 585, when Yhwach states that he will invade the royal palace as we reach the midpoint, which occurs fairly later on into the episode. Now the last 5 minutes of episode 21 adapts the rest of chapter 585 all the way up until the end of chapter 586, and then we cut to the credit song. Now like I had mentioned, there is a lot of streamlining of dialogue, removal of content, and scenes that have been reworked entirely in comparison to the manga that are within this week's episode. It's going to be fascinating to go through all of the differences between the anime and the manga for episode 21, and rest assured I'm going to be covering every cut and change that has been made. As always, I will refrain from talking about any scenes that are one-to-one adapted from the manga, and I'm only going to be focusing on what has been cut, changed, and added to the anime. Understandably, I have a lot to cover within this video, so without further delay, here is my manga versus anime comparison for episode 21 of Bleach's 1000 Year Blood War arc anime. This episode begins by adapting the end of chapter 565, where we see Yhwach waking up from his sleep. Now this material was not previously adapted into the earlier episodes of Core 2, and it pretty much involves Yhwach thanking the souls of those who had died up until now, and it is because of their sacrifice that he is able to see the world clearly today. Before this scene from chapter 565 is adapted, we do in fact get to see the Yhwach origin scene from the beginning of episode 14, but it has been sped up considerably, and it has been included in a way to make us think that Yhwach was dreaming about his origins before he had woken up. After the intro song, we begin with adapting material from the second half of chapter 579. Immediately, there are 4 panels of cut manga material of the Shinigami commenting about Gremmy's fortress crumbling and how Kinpachi was able to end the fight. The manga shows them celebrating as they say that they will now be able to fight alongside Kinpachi without him getting annoyed about them being in the way. Now this is all removed as we just cut to Kinpachi reacting to Gremmy's defeat. Now inconsequential scenes like this from characters commenting on the events that are unfolding are cut throughout this episode, and this has been done in order to properly adapt most of the material from the 7.5 chapters worth of manga content that is adapted into this week's episode. When Candice strikes the area in the manga, she attacks the Shinigami who have just left to search for Yachiru, but in the anime she appears to cut to the chase and strike Kinpachi as the Bambis reveal themselves, bringing us to the end of material that is being adapted from chapter 579. It allows for the order of events from chapter 580 to be adapted differently into the anime. So the anime appears to skip about 5 pages at the start of the chapter, and it cuts straight to Lil Toto speaking to the Shinigami. We see each of the Bambis showcase their abilities as the anime formally introduces each of them to us, along with what letter shrift that they possess. These events are streamlined within the anime, with a lot of inconsequential manga panels not being adapted so that we can quickly move on to the next scene. After Giselle orders the Shinigami to attack themselves, the anime then adapts material from the end of chapter 579, as it combines it with the beginning of chapter 580, where Candice showcases her abilities by electrocuting a group of Shinigami. Now the sequence of events has been altered for the better, I think, as it flows more naturally within the anime, as Kubo and the anime staff have carefully rearranged moments from the manga so that we can be introduced to each of the Bambis and their respective powers. There is one anime only scene here where we see Kinpachi lunge towards Candice to attack her, but he ends up being blindsided by Meninas, who sends him crashing down into the ground. During the manga portion of where this is adapted from, there is no retaliation from Kinpachi after Candice attacks him, and he is instantly attacked by Meninas, and once again the anime does add to the source material here by giving Kinpachi a bit more of a role during his his beatdown. In the anime, after Kenpachi is attacked by Candice, he gets back up as we see an anime exclusive scene of Candice charging up another attack which puts him out of commission. The anime improves on this scene as Kenpachi is convincingly taken out, as we then sync back up to the manga content from the end of chapter 580 with the Bambis commenting on who is going to defeat Kenpachi. The final page of chapter 580 is saved for a bit later on as we cut to content from the next chapter. The anime removes 6 pages from the start of chapter 581 and it involves Omaida, Shinji and Baz B. The scene has Omaida confronted by several soldat while he is carrying Soifon and his younger sister. Suddenly he is assisted by the arrival of Momo and Shinji, who appear and tell Omaida that they need to protect Kenpachi. Shinji explains that there are barely any Shinigami left who are still able to fight. If Kenpachi is killed, then it will turn the tide of battle heavily in favor of the Quincy. Shinji states that they need to stop the Quincy from killing Kenpachi. They are then interrupted by Baz B, who thanks them for their level-headed analysis, stating that he is determined to stop them from saving Kenpachi as he activates Burner Finger 3, transforming the surroundings into lava. Baz tells them to relax because once they are swallowed by the lava, then they will be reduced down to skeletons within seconds, exclaiming that they will die a faster death than Kenpachi. The anime doesn't adapt any of this, which is a real shame, as I really would have liked to see more of Shinji, and this was a scene that I was confident would be adapted into this episode. But alas, because of the high amount of chapters that are adapted into episode 21, scenes like this are left on the cutting room floor. In place of this scene, the anime cuts straight to Rukia and Byakuya sensing a drop in Kenpachi's Reiatsu, as they then sense the arrival of Ichigo into the Serete. The anime does a fantastic job of adapting Ichigo's arrival onto the battlefield, with several individuals reacting to his spiritual pressure which crashes into the Serete. The remix of number 1 that plays throughout this scene was a massive highlight for me, as well as the animation that we see of the hollow mask style smoke cloud which appears after he breaks through the barrier of the Serete. I think that this scene is just truly amazing. With Ichigo telling Kenpachi that he is here to save him, it takes us up to material from the end of chapter 581. A panel from chapter 582 of Lil Toto informing the Bambis that they are facing off against Ichigo Kurosaki, and it is to be expected that they are struggling with him, is cut from the anime. The anime instead streamlines this dialogue as Lil Toto cuts to the chase by having her identify Ichigo as the highest level threat amongst Yhwach's 5 great war powers. After the dust settles from Candice attacking Ichigo with her Galvano blast, the anime cuts 2 panels of the manga where Ichigo says that the Bambis are all alive and kicking, commenting on how he had thought that it would be hard to fight girls, but he is glad that he doesn't have to worry about that. The anime instead cuts to the next page of the manga where the smoke clears and it reveals Ichigo's new outfit now that his cape has been destroyed, with Yhwach telling Hashward and Uryu that it is time and asking on the sideline wondering if he will be chosen or not. It takes us to the end of material adapted from chapter 582. 2 manga panels are cut from the anime involving Candice telling the other Bambis to shut up as she asks them how will they be able to face Yhwach after he learns that Ichigo has made a fool of them. In the next cut panel, Menina says that she doesn't know what she would do, with Lil Toto saying that there is nothing to worry about, and Giselle lastly asking why she is getting so annoyed about this. After Candice clashes with Ichigo, a page from chapter 583 is cut from the anime which has Ichigo ask her about her dual weapons, stating that it's a good thing that he is also wielding 2 blades. Candice retaliates by telling him to shut up as she reveals that she is actually using 6 weapons. Now the anime has some incredible anime exclusive battle sequences between Ichigo and the Bambis. The exclusive sequence begins with Ichigo punching Candice into a nearby building as the other Bambis activate their holy forms and use the ability Sclaverai as they absorb the nearby Reishi to strengthen themselves before they attack Ichigo. The visuals here are amazing as Giselle, Meninas and Lil Toto really got a lot of limelight within the anime via this exclusive scene. They all clash against Ichigo as we are given enough time for them to showcase their unique abilities in their holy forms, but ultimately they prove to be no match for Ichigo, and I have to say I really enjoyed seeing Meninas and Lil Toto's holy forms the most, with Giselle's admittedly feeling rather disappointing, and I can understand why she doesn't really bother to use a holy form later on in the arc. After the 3 of them are taken out, we cut back to manga material with Candice appearing and activating a holy form. After the 3 of them are defeated, we cut back to manga material with Candice appearing and activating a holy form as she strikes Ichigo with her attack Electrocution. Ichigo Ichigo ends up countering this with his all-new ability Getsuga Jujisho, which is yet again another mind-blowing sequence from this episode, as this takes us to the end of material adapted from chapter 583. After Ichigo yells at Candice to dodge his attack, the manga cuts to Yhwach telling Hashua to summon the key as he draws his blade and points it to the sky, as Yhwach thanks the one who has guided them to the light. The anime doesn't adapt this after Ichigo's Getsuga Jujisho. Instead, it reworks this scene to occur after Ichigo is confronted by the 8th Sternritter. The scene involves Yhwach at the start and end of chapter 584, as well as his exchange at the start of chapter 585. All of these moments are streamlined in the anime to have Yhwach thank the one who has guided them to the light, as he says that it is thanks to Ichigo that he is now able to invade the royal palace. Yhwach leaving for the royal palace at the start of chapter 585 is cut down, and it has some of Yhwach's dialogue in the manga given to Mayuri in the anime, who appears during an anime exclusive scene. The manga has Yhwach call out to Ichigo, stating that he knows that he can hear him. He thanks Ichigo, stating that because of him he is able to invade the royal palace. He explains that the robe that he is wearing is called Oken, and that it is created from the bones and hairs of these Soul Division members. In order for Ichigo to force his way through the 72 layers of barriers that exist between the royal palace and the Serete, he had needed to wear the Oken clothing. The clothing had also acted as a form of protection which had defended himself against the friction that would occur by breaking through the 72 barriers. No other clothing material can provide such resistance and protection to its wearer. Yhwach tells him that there is no robe that is better than the Oken clothing, and thanks to its incredible defenses, he was able to break through the 72 barriers, which he reveals remain open for 6,000 seconds. Now, the anime alters the explanation by giving Yhwach's lines here to Mayuri, as he explains about the Oken clothing, the breaking of the 72 barriers, and the 6,000 seconds that the barriers remain open for. This change is understandable, and it keeps us in the loop with the other members of the Gotei 13. Either way, if it was Yhwach or Mayuri who had delivered the news, it doesn't make much of a difference, to be honest. Following Mayuri's explanation, the anime has some more anime exclusive material as we cut to Shunsui commenting on how the enemy's goal has always been the Soul King. We then get a fascinating brief glimpse of Aizen currently in Muken before cutting back to the research and development department, where Mayuri asks what the leader of the Zero Division was thinking. Now, this is in reference to him knowing that Ichigo traveling back would have exposed the royal palace for 6,000 seconds. You may be able to infer that Ichibei for some reason wants Yhwach to come to the royal palace, thus explaining why he had made Ichigo go down the path of Irazu Sando to see if he is a worthy successor to the Soul King. I'm speculating here, but what if the Soul King needs to be replaced? It seems as though there is a plausible theory that the existing Soul King may no longer be able to function, and this is Ichibei's way of having two options to either transform Ichigo or Yhwach into the next Soul King. Now, this hasn't been confirmed, but it does seem like a plausible theory from what the anime appears to be hinting at by showing Ichibei during this particular scene, as it makes it apparent that he is in fact hiding something from us. The anime has an exclusive scene of Maninas using her ability Diamond Push, which sends Ichigo hurtling through the air. The anime then cuts a few panels from the manga where the Sternritter Nanana attempts to intercept Ichigo, but he ultimately fails as he avoids his attack. Instead, we cut straight to the next set of panels where Robert appears and holds a spirit gun against Ichigo's head. The anime then cuts a comedic interaction between Ichigo and Renji after Renji appears and defends Ichigo from Baz B's Burner Finger 1. In the manga, he complains to Renji that he almost cut his neck with that attack, but Renji tells him to stop whining, telling him at least he didn't get hit. All of this is streamlined in order to cut to Renji just telling Ichigo to go on ahead. With the Shinigami arriving to confront the Sternritter, we reach the end of material adapted from chapter 585. The last 2 minutes of the episode is spent adapting chapter 686, as we begin by cutting the first 7 pages of the chapter, which I am assuming will be adapted into a later episode. It involves Baz B counting the number of Shinigami who have appeared to challenge them, as he notes that there are only 6 of them, and it's not enough for a one-on-one fight against the 8 Sternritter. After Baz learns that there are no special war powers amongst them, he gets ready to fire at all all of them, but he is attacked by Ikkaku. When he attempts to retaliate, his bow is then frozen by Rukia, who reminds him that they will not let him pass. Ikkaku reaffirms that the only way through is over their dead bodies. Refusing to let Ichigo get away, Lil Toto suggests that they all activate their holy forms as they intend to make quick work out of the Shinigami. We then end up seeing the two groups charge towards each other in this amazing manga double spread. Now again, this wasn't adapted into this week's episode, but I do think that it will be included within episode 22. Now the anime instead shows us Ichigo rushing towards Yhwach, Hashward and Uryu, and things play out very similarly to the manga, with the differences occurring after Chad and Orihime appear. In the anime, Ichigo is actually struck by two of Uryu's arrows, one across the face and one on the abdomen. This is until Chad arrives and appears in front of him to protect Ichigo with his shield arm, as Uryu's ability Licht Regen rains arrows down upon them. Orihime also appears in front of both Chad and Ichigo as she summons a shield to defend them against the attacks. Now it is a minor alteration, but it adds to the impact of the scene by having Orihime and Chad involved, as it further cements the shock of Uryu's betrayal. The manga on the other hand has Ichigo assisted from afar by Orihime, who summons a shield in front of him to defend him against the arrows that are raining down on him. The anime gives Ichigo a few additional lines of dialogue as he demands an answer from Uryu, telling him to say something. Aside from this, things play out very similarly to the manga, with the incredible music and voice acting elevating the source material, as the episode ends with Uryu leaving with Hashward and Yhwach in order to make their arrival within the royal palace. Now you will have noticed that there is no next episode poem at the end of this week's episode, and this is because Bleach episode 22 or Core 2 episode 9 will be airing on the 9th of September. Next week we are going to be having a recap episode which covers all of the events that have occurred within Core 1 and Core 2 so far. Now this is most likely being done in order to give the anime staff some much needed time to complete the remaining episodes. So I wanted to just record scratch and provide a quick update about the progress of Core 2 and what exactly is going to be happening with episode 26. So a lot of people were under the assumption that episode 26 was going to be 1 hour long. Rumors about a 1 hour massive battle between Ichibei and Yhwach was spreading even before Core 2 had aired. Well, we've had confirmation from the official Viz Media Twitter account that episode 25 and 26 are going to be combined and aired together on the 30th of September. So this is similar to how episodes 12 and 13 were aired together during Core 1 of Bleach. There was this massive 1 hour finale. The rumors about episode 26 had started to spread when people had realized that the final episode of Core 2 was going to air on the 30th of September, so they had counted up the weeks and had assumed that the 1 hour episode was going to be episode 26, but they didn't account for a recap episode because none of us had known that they were going to be including a recap into this core. Well, what does it mean for the remainder of the episodes? So personally, I'm not going to be worrying about this because we have 5 episodes left of Core 2 and we have approximately 25 chapters worth of content, which will get us up to the end of chapter 611, where I believe that episode 26 is going to be wrapping things up on. So this is approximately 5 chapters per episode, which is really good pacing for Bleach. So with that quick update and fix out of the way, let's get back to the video. Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 had to similarly take a 3-week break between the end of the Hidden Inventory arc and the start of the Shibuya Incident arc, and we can assume that it was for similar production related issues. I just hope that the anime staff have enough time to really deliver an incredible finale for Core 2, with the final 5 episodes that have yet to air. We wrapped things up at the end of chapter 586 this week, and I am anticipating that the final episode of Core 2 will adapt material all the way up to the end of chapter 611. So what were your thoughts on episode 21, The Headless Star? Did you enjoy the episode as much as I did? Honestly, I didn't mind the cuts and omissions this week, and I felt really happy seeing the anime exclusive scenes involving the Bambis fighting Ichigo. There was some truly amazing animation involved, and I love that we got to see a shot of Aizen after Yhwach had created a path to the royal palace, as well as Mairi getting some reworked lines of dialogue. With 5 episodes left to go and a break next week, I really do hope that the anime staff bring their absolute best with this last batch of episodes. I'm really looking forward to watching episode 22, which we know is titled Marching Out the Zombies, which again will air on the 9th of September. Please be patient until then and continue to show your support for the Bleach 1000 Year Blood War arc anime. I look forward to reading all of your comments, and I cannot wait to see you in my next Bleach anime breakdown and analysis video.
If you enjoy my content, then you can support my channel through Patreon for as little as $1 a month, or even through YouTube by becoming a channel member. You will gain access to exclusive channel perks and a Discord server which I frequently use. So become a member of my Zero Division and be the first to know about my upcoming videos. And once again, thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.